in this election year. Let's bring back our panel. CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin, CNN political commentator and former communications director for Ted Cruz, Amanda Carpenter, and Democratic strategist Stephanie Cutter. Amanda, let me start with you. Dr. Ben Carson today said that if a Republican were president, the GOP nominees would be pushing him to nominate a new justice. Doesn't he have a point? If this was year 8 of President Cruz's administration and the Democrats were controlling the Senate and saying, no way, Cruz would be pushing a nominee, I gotta believe.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's why I think Republicans should be unapologetically direct about what they're trying to do by stopping this nomination. Voters have been crying out for Republicans to stop President Obama's agenda in its tracks. Stopping his final Supreme Court pick that would change the ideological balance of the court is a very direct way of doing this. And so, I don't think we should bother ourselves with digging up quotes about who opposed the filibuster last time and how Republicans and Democrats are wrapped around this. Who cares? Republicans must make it an election issue and say, we're playing for all the marbles. Let the next president decide.
Let's be honest about it. Interesting. Stephanie, one of those quotes that has been dug up by Republicans is Chuck Schumer. Chuck Cruz, I just invented, that's a scary character. In 2007, Chuck Schumer said, and this is obviously more than a year before President Bush left office, the Senate should block any nominee Bush might make to the Supreme Court. So there is a bit of goose gander going on here.
Well, Schumer answered this himself. He wasn't saying that they're going to outright stop with no hearing, no vote, and they should only do that for right-wing nominees. What Republicans are doing right now is unbelievably unprecedented, and it is going to turn on them in this election. I think that's what you're seeing with Tom Tillis and Chuck Grassley. People are coming to their senses saying, hey, wait a minute. Shutting down the government has never worked out for us before, and now we're about to shut down the third branch of government, the Supreme Court of the United States, just for our own partisan reasons? That's crazy. That's what I think is happening. Republicans are starting to come to their senses.
Jeff, truth squad this for a second. Is this unprecedented? Has this? I mean, I was under the impression that quite often in the 4th year of a president's term, or the 8th year if it's 2 terms, the Senate, if it's controlled by the opposition party, does kind of stop confirming their judges.
Right. There's something called the Thurman Rule, which is an informal tradition at the Senate that the president's judicial nominees pretty much stop around the time of the political conventions. However, you will notice the political conventions haven't happened yet, and the Supreme Court only has 9 members, unlike these other courts where other people can sort of pick up the slack. I mean, it is unusual, especially in recent years, for a Supreme Court vacancy to take place in the 8th year of a president's tenure. The closest analogy is in late 1987, after the defeat of Robert Bork and Douglas Ginsburg, President Reagan nominated Anthony Kennedy to the Supreme Court, and he was confirmed in February of 1988, which was in the last year of President Reagan's term. And the chairman of the Judiciary Committee at the time was Joseph Biden, a Democrat. So, you can say that there was a Republican nominee confirmed in the last year of a Republican presidency, but no situation is precisely analogous, and this is mostly about power. It's not about principle.
Right.
And the Republicans can stop him because they can.
Right. And obviously that was after the whole Robert Bork situation and Doug Ginsburg, God forbid, smoked marijuana years before, and he was pulled as well. Amanda, I don't doubt that this kind of action will be very popular among Republican rank and file. Do you, as somebody who wants a Republican to win the White House in November, do you not worry about how it might play among moderates, independents in Pennsylvania, Ohio, et cetera?
I have zero worries because I think it's very compelling to take this case to the American people and say the next president will decide the direction of the court. This isn't just a regular seat. This will change the balance of the court. It's far too important to be decided in election year. I don't really care about the Thurman Rule. It is important, but let the American people decide. A year isn't too long to wait. The courts will continue to function. All decisions that will be 4-4 will be upheld by the lower court. Our democracy will survive this, and it's far better to let people have a chance to weigh in on it in the next big election than to let it be decided, by maybe a 68 vote in the Senate.
So I have a question about that. When a president is elected, and the president was overwhelmingly elected in 2008 and 2012, that's the presidential election. Do you serve for a full 4 years until January 20th? when a new president comes
He
in.
absolutely has
So
a right
why-
to nominate someone and make the case, but the Senate also has a right to exercise its power.
And
I've been a
its
big proponent
constitutional
of wanting
power
the Senate
is
to exercise its power.
to
and
review the
it is-
president's nominees and vote on them.
Yeah, and the Senate has a constitutional duty to provide advice and consent. Consent may mean
So
they
should
say
they take
no.
it to a
It's
vote?
not advise and
So
concede.
should they take it to a vote?
They have no
then?
obligation to take it to a vote.
Okay, well then how are they advising and consenting?
They are saying we reject this nominee
Look,
outright.
at the end of the day, this is going to hugely impact the balance of the Senate
Absolutely.
in 2016. You have a number of Republicans running in states that Obama won, and a number of and in blue states, and
But
swing
they
voters.
have, a bunch of them have come out in favor of this.
Exactly.
What do you want
Right.
to call it? Blocking?
So they cannot win.
works.
Is there a neutral term for it? Yeah.
They cannot win
Yeah.
in these states without pulling in independents and swing voters. Independents and swing voters, you know, the one